Plato's Republic, Book 3, the beginning, section 386, I guess. Such then, I said, are our principles concerning how the gods are to be represented. Some tales are to be told, and others are not to be told to our disciples from their youth upward. We mean them to honor the gods and their parents, and to value friendship with one another. Yes, and I think that our principles are right, he said. But if they are to be courageous, must they not learn other lessons besides these, and lessons of such a kind as will take away the fear of death? Can any man be courageous who has the fear of death in him? Certainly not, he said. And can he be fearless of death, or will he choose death in battle rather than defeat and slavery, who believes that the world below to be real and terrible? Impossible. Then we must assume control over the narrators of this class of tales as well as over the others, and beg them not simply to revile, but rather to commend the world below, intimating to them that their descriptions are untrue and will do harm to our future warriors. That will be our duty, he said. Then I said, we shall have to obliterate many obnoxious passages, beginning with the verses. First verse, I would rather be a serf on the land of a poor and portionless man than rule over all the dead who have come to naught. We must also expunge the verse which tells us how Pluto feared. Second verse, lest the mansions grim and squalid, which the gods abhor, should be seen both of mortals and immortals. And again, O heavens, verily in the house of Hades there is soul and ghostly form, but no mind at all. Again in Tiresias, to him even after death did Persephone grant mind, that he alone should be wise, but the other souls are flitting shades. The soul flying from the limb had gone to Hades, lamenting her fate, leaving manhood and youth. Again, and the soul, with shrilling cry, passed like smoke beneath the earth, and, as bats in hollow of mystic cave, whenever any of them has dropped out of the string and falls from the rock, fly shrilling and cling to one another, so did they with shrilling cry hold together as they moved. And we must beg Homer and the other poets not to be angry if we strike out these and similar passages, not because they are unpoetical or unattractive to the popular ear, but because the greater the poetical charm of them, the lesser they are suitable for the ears of boys and men who are meant to be free, and who should fear slavery more than death, undoubtedly. Also, we shall have to reject all the terrible and appalling names which describe the world below, Cocytus and Styx, ghost under the earth, and sapless shades, and any other similar words of which the very mention causes a shudder to pass through the inmost soul of him who hears them. I do not say that these horrible stories may not have a use of some kind, but there is a danger that the nerves of the guardians may be rendered too excitable and effeminate by them. Effeminate by them. Effeminate by them. There is a real danger, he said. Then we must have no more of them. True. Another and more nobler strain must be composed and sung by us. Clearly. And shall we proceed to get rid of the weepings and wailings of famous men? They will go with the rest. But shall we be right in getting rid of them? Reflect. Our principle is that the good man will not consider death terrible to any other good man who is his comrade. Yes, that is our principle. And therefore, he will not sorrow for his departed friend as though he had suffered anything terrible. He will not. Such a one, as we further maintain, is sufficient for himself and his own happiness, and therefore is the least in need of other men. True, he said. And for this reason, the loss of the son or brother or the deprivation of fortune is to him of all men least terrible. Assuredly. And therefore he will be least likely to lament, and will bear with the greatest equanimity any misfortune of this sort which may befall him. Yes, he will feel such a misfortune far less than another. Then we shall be right in getting rid of the lamentations of famous men and making them over to women and not even to women who are good for anything, or to men of a baser sort, in order that those who are being educated by us to be defenders of our country may scorn to do the like. That will be very right. Liberty is associated with rape. Liber, the symbol, Liber was a primary Roman god of, I don't know about Roman actually, now that I think about it. Liber was a big god in Pompeii, and his symbol was an erect penis. Liberty is have at it, have your way, take what you want. Basically exactly what rape is. So it's important here, I think, to see that the targeting is youth. Again, the entire function of sustaining Plato's Republic is the severing, is the denigration of women and the severing of the child from the mother, particularly the bond between the son and the mother. That can be seen in the way he talks so heinously about relegating the woes of, and this is actually good timing with that soldier that just got saved and traded, and now the criticism that's coming out is he a traitor or something like that because he went against the national, what do you want to call it, the national interest, or the national the party line. Basically, he went against the party line on the Afghan war, which is we're there for their freedom, and he claims to have come to the realization that that was all BS, which apparently the majority of the country has not yet come to the realization of, though if you speak to them on an individual basis, they will agree solely that we're there for the money now. Yeah, because at the very best, even if they believe we were there for Osama bin Laden, they say we got him and we should be gone. So everybody's in agreement with this guy, but everybody will follow the party line because they look at his quibblings, just like Obama's only speech so far was directed to soldiers, reiterating that he didn't do it because the guy's stature or character. He did it because we don't leave soldiers there. And he means that because the winding down, the negotiations that are going on with the Taliban in Qatar for the removal of NATO troops, well, the vast majority of NATO troops, probably with the exception of American forces. So there's the other recognition is that the answer to this is where I get the notion about heaven and hell. See, at this time they had no concept of heaven. It was everybody went to hell. So hell was so generalized. It wasn't a punitive. It was just where you. It was a natural place where you went when you died. But where he's calling for hell to be a place not so generalized, but not so demeaning, or where you just go and you're lost, and it's like, hey, you know what? I've got this chance. I'm going to either be a slave or I'm going to die and go to Hades with everybody else and just, whatever. We have to stop people from thinking that when they die, there is no penalty. And so rather than just the way that was developed to do this in Abrahamic fascist, the Republic society, was to create heaven so that it is contrasted by hell, so that it went a step further in that when you're willing to die for a good cause, a just war, which is basically whatever the given explanation of the people in power, because they're in power, they know exactly what's just, then you're rewarded with a grand death or a medal or some kind of thing like that. But if you don't die, if you give up, if you come back and you beg, you're not willing to go back, or you cry that you were injured and you didn't die in battle and you're seeking help now because you think you're owed something for your service, talk to Plato, baby. Talk to Plato. It wasn't Shinzeki. It's not it wasn't Gates, as much as it's all of them, and Colin Powell, and you know what? You don't see the police going over there and arresting anybody from the VA, do you? But they're on domestic soil and they fall within a certain jurisdiction. You don't see the FBI doing any investigations into what he is effectively the mass murder of who untold numbers of veterans whose only crime was that they didn't die on the battlefield. They came home. So there you go, troops. On a footnote, I think I want to add that this is also closely related with the massive suicide rate that's inside the U.S. military right now, because the soldiers that are committing suicide, it is so ingrained in their head that it's their duty to die, or that it's better for them to die than to quibble or quit or to resist or to fight against, or when they come to the abhorrent realization of the actual role that they are regulated to, denigrated to, they, rather than reverse roles, so to speak, and re-identify the enemy, they are so saturated with the primary thing in their head, the one, there's different degrees of susceptibility to it, so you may in one real sense say that the ones that kill themselves are the weakest, and that may be your justification for having no regard or compassion or care for that fact. But that's again, that's a reflection of you, not of the troops that died, not of the people, not of the human beings that killed themselves. It's the suicide rate of troops is a very real element that is real with real life effects, and it's all rooted psychologically. Some people want to blame some of the chemicals, the vaccines and whatnot that they're giving troops. There's a meningitis vaccine that's been demonstrated in multiple cases. In one group of troops that were given this meningitis thing, massive amounts of violence were perpetrated by them in a short period of time after being provided this. The gentleman, I forgot his name already, that did the massacre in Afghanistan and killed the whole village, women and children. Out of the 12 people, I think it was 9 kids, all under the age of 9, and then he put their bodies into a pile and burned them, and then got back. They said that he was drinking. Of course, they want to say that he was drinking because then that it criminalizes him in the one sense. But there are some, I've heard some reporters that were over there that embedded with troops that there's some evidence that he was actually vaccinated with this thing, and while that's still it's still a psychological phenomenon. That's basically what it comes. Well, he didn't commit suicide anyways, but the suicide phenomenon, I believe, is closely related to this kind of element. And again, I say that, I mean, imagine how the reaction would be if instead of the 12,000 troops that committed suicide, if instead they shot a trainer or a general or a colonel or some other high-ranking official. Imagine the amount of money that the military would be willing to invest into the care of the mental well-being of their troops. Hint, hint.